On July 17th, 1955, Walt Disney welcomed the world into his very own realized fantasy, Disneyland. This magnum opus of work would be the amalgamation of creativity and innovative engineering, creating what we now know as the happiest place on Earth. But just how true is that claim to endless joy being found in the now numerous Disney parks around the world? Well, today we're going to be uncovering some of the murky secrets within these parks and take a look at some of the projects that never got their fairy tale ending. From planned volcanic roller coasters to attractions left to rot for surprisingly dark reasons. Hop aboard this wild ride as we investigate some abandoned and unfinished Disney projects. Imagineering. As we step aboard our Disney ride, we need to pick up some friends, the people who made the craziest ideas of Disney parks possible. They call themselves the Imagineers. As Walt Disney embarked on his grand expedition of creating his initial park in Anaheim, California, he needed a way to make his Technicolor whimsies a reality. With the creativity of staff scouted from his own animation studio, plus the expertise of architects and engineers, he orchestrated a formidable team of what he would call Imagineers. Governed by passion and creativity, Walt and his Imagineers nurtured a freewheeling attitude of, if it can be dreamt, it can be built. Though even with this formula, throughout the years, it certainly hasn't been plain sailing for the Imagineers. Some concepts would never see creation, while others, for one reason or another, would be axed further down the line, sometimes becoming completely desolated and fading into obscurity. So, without further ado, let's visit our ride's first stop. River Country. As Sebastian from The Little Mermaid once said, "It's better down where it's wetter." Now, interpret that as you will, but I think we can all agree that there's nothing more fun than a water park. And in the 1970s, the Imagineers had that idea in mind when they were designing Disney's second park, Disney World Florida. A debut for Disney parks, River Country would be a water park positioned right on the edge of Florida's Bay Lake. The park was designed as a recreation of an old-fashioned swimming hole with cultivated coves and waterfalls. With something for everyone, River Country was a triumph. In fact, with it being one of the earliest fully themed water parks in the world, it was considered revolutionary. However, by 2001, River Country's charm had sorely faded and its day in the sun was over. That year, it was initially said to be closed for renovation, but it would never reopen. Besides, newer, bigger, and better water parks had since been built, such as Typhoon Lagoon in 1989 and Blizzard Beach in 95. River Country was much like one of the old forgotten toys in Toy Story. The difference, though, was that this park's abandonment may have been justified, thanks to some dark occurrences. The waters of River Country, it turns out, had actually claimed lives. In 1982, a 14-year-old boy sadly drowned at the park, another again in 1989. But most unsettling was the 11-year-old boy who lost his life there in 1980. You see, being next to Bay Lake, the Imagineers created a system where fresh water could be filtered from the lake and pumped into the park. Only on this fatal day, a microscopic amoeba of the species Naegleria fowleri, otherwise known as the brain-eating amoeba, somehow bypassed the filtering system. It swam up the boy's nose and attacked his brain and nervous system, eventually proving fatal. While these unfortunate incidents weren't given the blame for the park's closure, they certainly contributed to an uneasy atmosphere there. But as far as uneasy sights are concerned, it doesn't get much more unnerving than how River Country looked after its closure. Up until 2018, the site was left completely abandoned. What were once clear aqua waters were now murky, moss-filled swamps. It became a thoroughly creepy place, lurking out of sight to unwitting Disney World park-goers, with the degraded hints of Disney charm that once existed there, only making it more unnerving by contrast. However, in 2018, Disney announced Reflections, a new 900-room lakeside lodge to be built over the ruins of River Country. The water park's last remnants were demolished ahead of the new construction, which remains underway as of 2023. So, with no trace of this forgotten Disney park remaining, River Country now exists only within the realm of nostalgic and possibly uneasy memories of those who visited. Beastly Kingdom. From the Maine Mouse himself to evil cats and love-struck dogs, it's no secret that Walt Disney took an interest in animals. In fact, when creating Disneyland in the 50s, he was keen to incorporate real animals, but circumstances didn't initially allow for it. A handful of animals began to be seen in Disney resorts in the years that followed, but it was in 1998, decades after Walt's death, that his dream came to full fruition when Disney World unveiled Animal Kingdom. For those of you versed in Disney World, you'll know that Animal Kingdom houses not only real zoo animals, but a section for animatronic dinosaurs, or rather, Dino Land. But did you know that the Imagineers originally conceptualized another section called Beastly Kingdom? The realm of Beastly Kingdom would be home to all things mythical. Gallant unicorns and fearsome sea beasts would lurk the land in animatronic form. But looming over the kingdom would be a fire-breathing dragon in a tower guarding its treasures. As guests entered the tower, they would be greeted by a gang of bats planning to raid the dragon's riches. Whisked off in a thrilling roller coaster ride, guests would whip around the treacherous towers with the bats, until finally encountering the dragon himself, who'd attempt to hurl his fire at them. At the time, the dragon would have been the largest audio animatronic the Imagineers had ever built, but it wasn't to be. Interestingly, remnants of Beastly Kingdom can still be seen today. For instance, there is still a dragon on Animal Kingdom's logo. But why was this whimsical idea never seen through? Well, you can blame this guy, Michael Eisner, former chairman and CEO of Disney. It's said that as the company embarked on the project, the reality of caring for animals exceeded budget expectations, and thus Dino Land and Beastly Kingdom were put on trial. Seeing as Disney at the time were working on the CGI blockbuster Dinosaur, Eisner concluded that Dino Land made more sense from a business standpoint. And as only one of the two could be afforded, Beastly Kingdom was, sadly, slain. Discovery Island. With visual secrets in most of their movies, from Nemo in Monsters, Inc. to Rapunzel in Frozen, Disney are all about hidden details. However, when it comes to their parks, there are some hidden details they'd rather fans not find. For example, Discovery Island. This spot launched in 1974, 3 years after Disney World opened. It was just a stone's throw away from River Country and was built on a naturally formed island in Florida's Bay Lake. Brimming with flora and fauna, Discovery Island showcased rare birds and wildlife. For 25 years, guests would arrive in their boatloads and be mesmerized by the natural wonders of Discovery Island. However, in 1999, Discovery Island mysteriously fell off the radar. After falling from Disney's catalog of attractions, the island was simply abandoned. Not demolished, nor repurposed, merely left to the elements. Over time, the once vibrant island faded into obscurity. Cages that were homes for animals now resembled rotting asylum cells, and unidentified animals that might have once flocked to the island for home now lie there as carcasses. Still abandoned to this day, no one is allowed to enter the island. However, in 2017, YouTuber Matt Sonswa managed to gain access, capturing the decrepit island on camera and providing the internet with some of the exclusive images you just saw. But how did Discovery Island become such a tragedy? Since its closure in 1999, Disney have never stated why Discovery Island was closed, though it's believed it was due to poor attendance and high maintenance costs. You see, just a year before its closure, the aforementioned Animal Kingdom opened on the main park. With it being newer, bigger, and hosting a wider range of animals, Discovery Island's attendance began to plummet. Soon the island's animals were relocated to Animal Kingdom. Discovery Island was closed, deserted, and left to the elements, awaiting rediscovery by only the bravest of YouTubers. Darkest Disneylands. Disney is all about dreaming with your heart and wishing upon a star, believing that magic truly can happen if you just believe. The street artist known as Banksy, however, would never be so naive, as evidenced in his 2015 art installation, Dismaland. Known for creating thought-provoking and oftentimes political artworks, Banksy's Dismaland installation was a cynical satire of Walt Disney's whimsical theme parks, responding to the ideas of manufactured happiness, wide-reaching cultural dominance, and relentless consumerism, alongside some of the other less savory aspects of Disney's past and present. The artist himself described Dismaland as, quote, a theme park for the disenfranchised. Located in Weston-super-Mare, UK, the temporary park showcased Disney like you've never seen. From the rotting carcass of Sleeping Beauty's castle and an overturned Cinderella's carriage, with paparazzi poised to capture the celebrity accident, to balloons which read, I am an imbecile, Dismaland was described as a family-themed park unsuitable for children. And honestly, it was a pretty ingenious, if ruthless, parody of one of our planet's most powerful cultural forces. To say the least, it's a teaspoon of salt to balance out all the Disneyfied sweetness we've seen so far. Unfortunately, this exhibition only ran from August to September in 2015, and therefore no longer exists. That said, just seeing the deteriorated castle gives us a glimpse of what could be if the Mouse House does one day go defunct, a concept that's also been explored in the artwork of deviant art creator Michael Feeney. In his eerie photoshops, Feeney imagines what Disneyland might look like should a zombie invasion wipe out all of humanity. The result is a castle truly worthy of a Disney villain's lair, among countless other dilapidated sites. Michael Feeney isn't the only artist to imagine such a situation either. Get a load of Philip Hodas's work. His 3D art also explores Disney parks in post-apocalyptic ruin. From a dismembered Olaf to a giant rusting Mickey head, Hodas's world is truly the saddest place on Earth. These artistic renditions could fit in perfectly at the Disney locations that actually have been abandoned, like Discovery Island and River Country. But realistically, those currently run-down real-world Disney sites will eventually be rebuilt, repurposed, and revitalized. And being in that state of change is a central principle to Disney parks. Walt himself once explained, Disneyland will never be completed. It will continue to grow as long as there is imagination left in the world. And it's this constant evolution that allows us to look back through the lens of grainy old cameras and see what, for many families, was and is the happiest place on Earth. And that, prince and princesses, brings us to our happy ever after. Let me know down in the comments which abandoned concept you'd like to have seen the most. And as always, thanks for watching.